man lies on the boardwalk, his limbs bent and neck turned at an unnatural angle. Right next to him is an empty bottle of spirits. In his cramped hand, a chewing gum wrapper. Half of his body has slipped between the cracked boardwalk, starting with the right leg. The fall has left him broken, contorted like a sad puppet.
Hold on. Lividity is faintly pronounced. Whoever this is has been dead for 2 days. No longer. We need to investigate.
Another dead body. This is your job. Steel yourself. He's wearing mud-caked boots, beige trousers, and an old brown leather jacket with a bright blue lining. There are traces of kebab sauce on his chest. A cool leather jacket with a bolt of blue? Oh no, this sounds terribly familiar. You find some sunflower seeds and a rain-soaked library card folded into two. His jacket feels sodden and heavy under your hand.
Good. We should take a look at that library card after this is done.
There's some dried blood on the metal bench, right where the corpse's head rests. The floorboards are rotten and slippery wet around the hole. An empty bottle lies nearby. A chewing gum wrapper is clutched in his fist. A dried chunk of blood covers the hair at the back of his head. An open wound. It's sticky and cold to your touch. This is where he came out of himself, drop by drop, when he was unconscious. It took 3, maybe 4 minutes.
I don't see any other major wounds, do you? Seems like the head wound was fatal. It's exactly the shape of the bench.
They screech under your feet ominously. It's hard to say whether the dead man's weight was the cause of the boardwalk to break. It definitely looks fragile. A .75 liter Tallulah vodka with its cap missing. There's hardly anything left inside. It's mid-market spirits with a slight touch of menthol. The man meant to enjoy himself, have a good time.
Tear all around us. I'd prefer if you didn't collect them this time. It's not proper.
True. It feels disrespectful. Grabowski spearmint chewing gum. Green leaves on the cover. The man's mouth is half agape from the terror of the fall. The blackness of death. Stench. You think you see white chewing gum too?
He ate the whole pack, right? It's to cover the smell of alcohol before going home. The worst thing is, I've seen it before. Almost the same scenario, even the chewing gum. It's always the same.
In a ditch off a road below the 881, he thinks. A young father. Then he shakes his head to make the memory stop. The entire boardwalk creaks in the wind as you take a step back. There's some The man has fallen through a crack in the boardwalk and hit his head against the metal bench. Coagulated blood covers his black hair. One of his A man lies on the boardwalk. Half of...
Hold on, leave it.
The man, you have to be quite inebriated to fall that bad. Well over a liter of pure ethanol. 3 bottles of wine, or 1.5 of spirits. Or maybe it was just dark. His expression is dull, like the sea behind him. Drops of water shining on his mustache. His eyes, empty and wide, look frightening in their frozen gaze. Height, 170 to 175 centimeters. Curly hair, stout build. Age, approximately 50 to 60 years. He was confused when he died. confused and alone most likely, overcome with the awful surprise of it all. He was just about to head home. The first step back home proved to be his last. That's what the chewing gum seems to point to as well. There's some dried blood,
I don't see any other major wounds. Seems like the head wound was
They screech, a .7, it's
tear. I'd prefer it.
true. Grabowski spearmint chewing gum. Green leaves on the cover, careful. The wind, the entire boardwalk. He's wearing a cool leather jacket with you fine.
Good. We should take a look at that library card after this is done. Looks like one of the locals. He'd have to know this spot to come here. You don't just walk over here. But that's just a lazy assumption. What do you think?
A dead working class man with a bottle in his hand? Don't deceive yourself. You know who this is.
The woman you met at the book stand? Why do you think it's her husband? The bright blue lining? Well, he's definitely someone's husband. Death by misadventure. He slipped and fell through the boardwalk. A truly unfortunate accident. If they'll seal this place off after... Not that sealing it up, it does seem to be a pretty... From where I stand, I can see two up. Alright, we should first examine the library...
As you hold it in your hands, it makes an uncomfortable crunching sound. It's a sordid, filthy tale, not for the weak. It occurs to you that you're not even holding the jacket itself, but rather the thick crust of jetsam and seagull shit that ensconces it. Why? Why did you think about it? Look at your hands. What? No. Then it'll just be on your pants. The library card is folded into two and still slightly wet to the touch. The front side reads, Central Jamrock Public Library Card, issued to Billy Mejean, expires July 53. Billy is a unisex name. Could be the deceased or his family member. Whoever owns this card is an avid reader. You find a list of books written in blue pencil. Radio thriller. Stand a little less between me and the sun. The last one in the list is The Glinting Curve by M. Theobald. A library stamp indicates that the book has been returned. Most of these titles seem to be in the sci-fi genre. Some thrillers too. If lost, please return the card to the library. Dial 005 02 55211 or visit us at Moreau Street, 78, Jamrock. Business hours 900 to 1800.
Good. We should give them a call from my kinema.
There's some tear, an empty cigarette package, and a crumpled kebab, 2 empty bottles of Toulouse.
A tragedy.
He shakes his head with genuine sadness. Whoever tossed it here was a heavy smoker. The brand name reads Red Astra. Now, this makes partying look bad. Still, you see traces of mayonnaise and ketchup on it, as well as a tomato wedge. The wrapper reads Shish Kebab Revachol. You see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D.
Go. Nice and easy. No way out, little guys. Not out of this jam.
There's a cylinder on the ground in which the man is arranging some netting. It looks like some kind of trap. He notices you.
Who's there? Oh, the police. Hello, officers.
Is that the police? Why are the police here?
Don't worry, Gary. I'll handle it. To what do I owe the pleasure? Of course. Thank you for passing along the message. That damn water lock is broken, and we can't go all the way around the 881. You broke the water lock with a motor carriage? But there was a billboard in the canal. Not a vehicle. It said Samaran Butter. Why? Insane. Yes, okay, good. But you said the water lock is fixed now. So we can go back.
Did he say we can go back now?
Yes, Gary. We can go soon. If you see Lena, tell her I won't be long.
This is a man possessed, always on the brink of some breakthrough. He won't leave if there's a sliver of hope. The great find might happen today.
Sir, your wife is waiting for you.
I just have to do one more round. See if the phasmid has taken the bait. Then we're going. Well, first of all, it's damn difficult to find, which is why we've been knee-deep in the reeds laying traps for it. Good question. Being a phasmid of the order Phantasmodea, a ghost insect, it disguises itself as plant matter. In this case, the reeds. Awful lot of reeds around, aren't there? And I suspect it may have also developed other specialised techniques to protect itself from predators or scientists in our present case. It's my hypothesis that it has evolved certain electrochemical defences that allow it to interfere with animal perception, impeding pattern recognition, confusing the visual cortex. But I cannot describe how these defences work, much less how they evolved, without studying a live specimen.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. You're beginning to suspect there's something paranatural about this phasmid.
I'm expecting it to be quite giant. One known species of phasmid, called the Megaphasmodea zoensis, is about the size of a grown man's forearm. So,
Seems puny, to be honest.
typical rookie assumption. Insects are much more sophisticated creatures than those unversed in zoology give them credit for. Even simply catching a glimpse of the Insulindian phasmid would be the apex of of any cryptozoologist's career. But to study it and its defenses, find out how it stayed hidden so long,
Would be glory itself.
very little, I'm sorry to say. No one's ever captured a specimen, so all our information is based on first and third-hand accounts. Not yet. That's what makes it a cryptid.
Just out of curiosity, if there's no proof of its existence, how do you know it's real?
I know it's real. By which I mean, I've heard enough first-hand accounts to believe quite firmly that the Insulindian phasmid is more than mere superstition.
What would it be like to grasp and hold onto something you think is next to you, or just behind you, like a trace of vapor you exhaled one spring morning as a child? This is what he's searching for. A spectre.
There was a credible sighting here recently. A pair of It's the first credible sighting in several decades. Admittedly, it's an unusual location for this species, but with all the sewage runoff upstream, it probably doesn't matter much anymore. I have to resist the thought. Such an extraordinary creature is doubtlessly highly resilient. After all, it's generally thought to be capable of parthenogenesis. Yes, the females don't need males to reproduce. Makes it easier for a species to survive in adverse conditions. Nature does not concern herself with ethical propositions. As a scientist, my interest is strictly dispassionate. By woman, you mean my wife, I assume? I will return to her. I can't leave before we finish with these traps. My wife understands that just as well as anyone.
Come on, Morel.
And leave the traps? Absolutely.
Come on. She wants us back.
Of course it's important to her. She's seen it. A verified sighting, on record. One of only 4 this century, and it's hers. Yes, that's how we first came to know one another, in fact. But that's her story to tell, not mine.
Needless to say, you must ask her about them.
Suffice to say, it's long been our dream to find proof of the Insulindian phasmid together. I can't...
His spirit may be willing, but his body might be too old to endure the rigors of the coast.
No. The traps need to be monitored on a regular schedule. What would we do if the phasmid were to starve while we were sipping tea at the hostel?
He's dead set on this.
I didn't expect you to take such an interest in our work here, officer. Yes, indeed. Both require a great deal of research, attention to detail, and, above all, persistence. There are 4 in total. One is to the south, on this little peninsula, by the boathouses there. It's very near. Another we set in Land's End, to the northeast. It's behind a small sand dune there, on your way to the old radio tower, after the church. The third is set near the canal, where you crossed, by a concrete slab. A big thicket of reeds going up the slope, and among them, you should check at least one of those before returning to this one, since I just said it. This one's more of a technicality, but still, better safe and stupid than sorry.
That seems like a lot. Do we really have time for this extra? Is it?
If you think it's important, you have been right before.
Bring it to me at once. Just make sure the trap is closed tight. That's highly unlikely, officer. But in the event you do, I'll spray. It's made of Muscom research chemicals. The wise choice.
This is the smell of dying reeds, of longing crumbling into the water.
I hope you're not buying this. He dispenses it without letting you touch the canister, so it would be precious like holy water.
It is precious. A single dose cost me 50 real to develop. Not that I expect you to understand self-financing one's own research.
Right. Which means you two can pack up and go back to the boiling.
Whatever he thinks about this detour, it's clear that these...
Finally, someone's talking sense.
Thank you for your help. Gary and I will start breaking down camp. If you have any... I've just always liked animals.
He seems reluctant to talk about himself, but he'll open up, if you prod a little.
No. Very few cryptids are ever discovered, and not for a lack of trying. To stay hidden is a cryptid's primary quality. It's even in the name, cryptid.